to be something I ever doubted. It was just something I always wanted to do, and that's why we call it Cycle Farms, because we're leaving the door open, as I said, to let him come on in. So that would be the cycling of the next generation.
I think it was important to Bill. We provided the environment that we wanted our sons to farm. It was important to him and to me that if they wanted to, that we could get big enough that they could farm with us.
I never really left. I mean, even when I was in college, I still, my parents would call or email me what cows have to be bred, and I would email back of what bulls we should use.
Tony's dream has always been to farm, so once I met him and decided that this was going to be a long-term thing between the two of us, I started that as becoming part of my dream too.
When my parents decided they were going to farm, they wanted to milk 80 cows someday, and now they're at 240. So when we say we want to milk 400, and the dairy industry is ever changing.
At the turn of the 20th century, the Brey family farm was established in 1904 in Wisconsin's charming Door County. Back then, the farm was a cherry tree orchard. As the family tilled the land, it became a home.
My grandpa was a diversified German farm. We had, cows and cherry orchard, apple orchards, and that was planted during my grandpa's era. So then when my father took over, he maintained that type of an operation, and cows and hogs and chickens.
Bill spent his youth helping his father and grandfather expand the acreage of the farm and maintaining the herd of dairy cows and other animals on the farm. Bill's father also encouraged his only son to expand his horizons.
They gave me the opportunity to get a River Falls college degree, and he didn't buy or expand or anything until the day I came home. Well, when I took over, it was a 120-acre farm and 250 laying heads, 12 sows, and 24 cows, and all grade cows at the time.
In 1973, Bill and his wife Clarice took over the family business, starting with only 24 grade Holstein cows. As the family grew with a fourth generation of sons and daughters, Bill and Clarice grew the herd from the original 24 to 50 and beyond. They also involved their sons and daughters in the dairy industry.
Our sons all helped on the farm also, more so with herd health and stuff, and we kept them, we tried to make it fun by having them in 4-H and going to district shows and state fair, and I think that makes a big difference if you take your kids to dairy activities where they enjoy themselves and they see other people like themselves that love dairy animals and working with dairy animals, that it really makes a difference in their outlook.
Tony quickly became interested in the herd aspect of the farm, from development to competition.
Well, I enjoyed most taking care of my project animals and showing at the fair, and I used to wash and lead my animals every single day, and I really enjoyed that, and it really kind of fostered my interest in dairy cattle and in farming.
Those interests led Tony to pursue a degree in dairy science at University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2003. At that time, the tie stall barn was over capacity with their 120 cow herd. It was then that the Breys decided to add a new freestall barn and retrofit a part of the existing tie stall barn into a new swing 8-parallel milking parlor.
I think putting the parlor in was the biggest step for us, because we didn't have to do all the milking ourselves, and we hired people to milk in the parlor, and we were more managing the fresh cows and the different groups of cattle.
Though Tony could not help with the physical day-to-day operations of the farm, he continued his presence with his education and leadership of the herd.
By all means, my parents ran the farm, but I still kind of kept an interest in it, and so I never really left it. And I kind of felt like already at that time that I had put a lot of time in, and I really kind of built up my interest. My coursework at UW-Madison definitely helped prepare me. A lot of my nutrition classes and dairy management classes. I was pretty active on campus, and I was part of the dairy judging team, so I guess I sharpened my evaluation skills of dairy cattle, and I was also involved in what's called the Dairy Challenge team, and I think that might be the most valuable thing that I was involved in college, because it made me step back and evaluate my own operation, evaluate things that I could do here to change to make things better now that I had done that for someone else.
After graduation in the spring of 2007, Bill and Clarice welcomed Tony home as he made the decision to return to the family farm.
When I graduated college, I had purchased embryos or bought cattle all over and sold cattle. So that's why I started farming, or chose to farm, was because of the genetics and the registered Holsteins.
It's always been Tony's dream to farm, so once I kind of signed on to this for the long run, it kind of became my dream to farm too. So it is very cool to be able to work side by side with your spouse.
Today, Tony, Bill, and Clarice work side by side with a herd of 240 Holstein cows. Bill and Clarice maintain and manage the 700 acres of crops that meets the nutritional needs of the herd. Haylage and corn silage are stored in bunker silos, and dry hay is made for heifers and dry cows. Clarice manages the bookwork and takes care of the calves. Jacob helps out extensively when he is home from college and keeps up to date via phone and email, just as Tony did. Mariah works full-time off the farm and handles the marketing and PR for the farm, while Tony cares for and manages the dairy herd.
I feed the cows, and I take care of the transition cows, take care of the fresh cows, manage them, and then I also do all the breeding on the farm, all the AI breeding, all the mating. I work with the vet every 2 weeks with our ultrasound check, and record all that into our scout program. And I work with our milk tester when they come, and I work with our nutritionists on a weekly basis to manage our ration that our cows get.
The herd size was increased when Tony returned to the farm and set up a shared facility agreement with his parents and the help of their Farm Service Agency loan officer.
I would get a loan to purchase additional cattle and then add those additional cattle to the current herd. And in exchange, I would receive a portion of our milk check on the farm. Then I would, in turn, pay my parents rent for the feed and the facilities and the overhead costs of a dairy herd. So that's how we were able to expand to our current size of 240, is with working with FSA, I was able to purchase around 100 cows that essentially doubled our current herd.
The focus that the family put on working with registered Holsteins throughout their expansion is apparent. The herd's breed age average rating of 107.6 ranked them #1 in the nation in 2009 for their herd size.
The registered Holsteins give me a little bit more excitement to my everyday job. They give me a challenge to breed and develop a better cow that will be more profitable for me, or that maybe I could sell to someone else, or that I could sell surplus cattle. That's the #1 thing. And the second thing is the registered Holstein industry is not only local, but it's statewide and nationwide, and it really has given a network of friends and people across the country that we correspond with and talk with on a regular basis.
It's definitely a niche in the dairy industry. With registered Holsteins, there's so many opportunities that I've had as a young kid growing up through like Dairy Bowl and dairy judging, and having the opportunity to travel all over the country, going to national conventions and meeting new people and making friends through that.
Jacob is currently pursuing his own degree in dairy science at University of Wisconsin-Madison, but still has a place on the farm whenever he's home. Jacob played a large role in the preparations for the Wisconsin Holstein Picnic, an event the Breys recently hosted on their farm.
It was an honor to be chosen to host such an event, and we were excited to open our doors to about 500 people from across the state and a lot of local dairy farmers too. That gave us the opportunity to showcase our animals and our farm and things to a lot of other people. We invited in dairy farmers from across the country too to come in and share their stories too. So that's exciting for Tony and I, and really all 5 of us. We really enjoy networking with other people and learning how they run their operations, because at the end of the day, if we all share what is going on in each other's operations, we can all benefit from that and be successful.
The family has never stopped looking at the future of operations of the farm and moving forward to new phases. To that end, Cycle Farm enrolled in the Wisconsin Dairy Farm Management Team program to gain a more solid understanding of succession planning.
We've always were interested in something of that from, Clarice and I were, as far as how we established our dairy and our farm and where we want it to be. But then when you bring in a son and his spouse, you need to be a little more communications and making that work.
We signed on with the Wisconsin Dairy Farm Management Team to kind of jumpstart the plans that we anticipate making down the road, but it was just such a great opportunity to have some cash flow behind it and just an opportunity to get some people in here and start thinking about what may happen down the road. We have a lot of different options of things we could do. There's a lot of different avenues that we can take, and there's a lot of professionals out there that can really help you decide which avenue to take, what works best for your business.
I think it's a really good program that we can kind of sit down and reflect upon where we have been and where we're going forward, and kind of get the basis of a management team, a support staff that we can turn to and ask questions to as we go forward.
And the cycles of the seasons and changing business continue at Cycle Farm as the Breys continue to reinvest and strengthen their farm for not only the current generation, but the next one as well. Cycle Farm is a true example of investing into the future of the dairy industry and a family's future.
Of course, with our son Jacob, who's still in college and things of that nature, we don't know for sure that he's going to come back, but we're not going to force him like we didn't force Tony. He's got to want to come back, and maybe he wants to work off the farm a little while and get some different experiences.
I've pretty much narrowed it down to 2 occupations, either going back to the farm with Tony or becoming classifier for Holstein Association. So this next summer I plan on having an internship at a large dairy farm, try to get a feel of that and the different things that go on.
I've been a huge dairy supporter in my whole life, having generations of my family go back to registered dairying too. So I guess I can say Tony and I both have deep pedigrees of Holsteins, and it's really exciting to have found someone who shares that passion so we can continue that down the road for years to come.
I guess if I said right now I knew what the future held, I might be limiting ourselves. I think the future is going to hold what dictates us going forward. I mean, the availability of land, or if my brother does join the operation, or if Mariah joins the operation on a day-to-day basis. I guess some of those things will dictate where the farm goes forward, but hopefully no matter what happens with the farm goes forward, I mean, we continue to improve and maybe grow internally through additional cattle and just develop a profitable and a desirable operation that can be successful for many years into the future.